All right, hello and welcome to another NFL team preview video for the 2020 season. Today we continue on with the NFC West, and we are going to be taking a look at the Los Angeles Rams. So let's begin. All right, so the Rams are fresh off of a Super Bowl hangover season. It feels like this team is missing one piece, or maybe one and a half, two pieces. They're still very good. They still have a lot of talent. The offensive line is not very good, though, and that could be one of the catalysts that is going to cause some change next season. But unfortunately, right now, much like the Minnesota Vikings, this team is strapped for cap space. They pushed in a lot of their chips the last couple of years to make that Super Bowl run, and now they're paying for it. So I still believe that this is a team that can definitely make its way into the playoffs. This division is very competitive, very strong. Even the Cardinals should surprise a lot of people this year. I think the Cardinals are quite a dark horse, but we're going to save them for the next and final episode of the team previews for 2020. But overall, the Rams, a lot to talk about. But first, before we do that, let's take a look at the 2019 recap. They were 9-7 overall last year. Offense ranked 7th overall in the league, 4th in passing, 26th in rushing. That's that poor offensive line play. Plus, not to mention Todd Gurley's knee problems didn't help anything. The defense ranked 13th in the league, 12th against the pass, 19th against the run. Sean McVay is your head coach entering his fourth season with a record of 33-15. 2018 they were 13-3, 2017 11-5, 2016 4-12, and in 2015 they were 7-9. So definitely on the upswing. One down year, but it's to be expected. A lot of teams do suffer that Super Bowl hangover that we've mentioned, and this division is of course really, really tough. So how do they plan to win games this year? What does the outlook look like? And for that, we're going to need to take a look at the starting projected depth chart to see where they can generate offense and shut down teams on defense. The defense is still pretty good. I think once they figure out the running game, I think this team should be a lot better with a more balanced offense. So starting on offense, we of course have Jared Goff, who fell back down to earth just a little bit last year after setting career numbers in the year that they went to the Super Bowl. Who he's going to be throwing to this year is simply a lot of the same cast members, except for the subtraction of Brandon Cooks, who is now with, I believe, the Houston Texans. So catching passes this year for the Rams is going to be Woods and Cooper Kupp, and both were 1,000-yard receivers last year. Wide receiver 3 is likely a platoon of Josh Reynolds and rookie Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson out of Florida is a really crisp route runner, and he's looked really good in training camp. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins that job outright. The tight end position is pretty good with Higbee and Everett, so they're pretty solid there. The offensive line is, of course, the problem area, and this offensive line unit, so, if you will, just needs to perform better. Now, a lot of the running back situation last year is going to be blamed on Todd Gurley's, ailing knee, but at the same time, the year before when the offensive line was good and they could stick just about any running back they wanted back there, whether it be Malcolm Brown or C.J. Anderson. You didn't lose all that much production. There was a playoff game where Malcolm Brown looked just as good as Todd Gurley, and the same with C.J. Anderson. So a lot of it has to do with the offensive line in Sean McVay's scheme. Running backs this year, Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson return, and you have the rookie second-round pick from Florida State, Cam Akers. Now, what's interesting about Cam Akers is that at Florida State, he didn't have much of an offensive line either. He really had to create his own magic. So moving up to the next level, while this offensive line still isn't the best or really a strength of this team, it'll be nice to see what he's able to do with some professional blocking. Moving on to the defense, which should be pretty good again this year, starting with the secondary. Very, very solid at the safety position with Taylor Rapp and Hill. And they also drafted Terrell Burgess this year, who is a very dynamic safety that they can put in a lot of different places. So I really like the safety situation here. For the Rams, the corners, of course, you have Jalen Ramsey, who is the shutdown premier corner. And then on the other side, who did I pencil in? Oh, I misspoke. It's Johnson is the other safety, and then we have Hill as the corner. I don't know why I flip-flopped those. That's weird. For the linebacker position, we have some new... this has been hit by departures. Ibukam? I think it's Ibukam. I don't know. Kaiser, Floyd, and Lawler, and then of course the strength of the front seven is definitely the defensive line, where you have Darnold, Brockers, and they brought in Ashawn Robinson. So I do expect the defense to be pretty good, and I think this really could be one of the better secondaries in the league when all is said and done for 2020. Taking a look at the schedule, we open up at home against the Cowboys, then we got Eagles and Bills on the road, Giants at home, Washington football team, and 49ers on the road. Bears at home, and then the Dolphins on the road for the first 8 games. Bye week is week 9, so the first half of the schedule is very road game heavy, with only 3 of the first 8 games being at home. That is pretty brutal. So moving on to the second half after the bye week, we open up at home against the Seahawks, on the road with the Bucks, home against the 49ers, Cardinals on the road, Patriots and Jets at home, Seahawks on the road, and then we wrap up the season with the Cardinals as the Week 17 home game. One of the things that is interesting when you look at last year, it was still a pretty good team with a 9-7 record, but they didn't do very well against competitive playoff teams. Losses against the Ravens, loss against the Steelers. They were swept by the 49ers. They split the series 1-1 with the Seahawks. They're going to have to do much better against teams with winning records. It's great that you get the Jets, you get the Eagles, who are very injury prone right now. You get the Washington football team, who is definitely a team in flux and should be a winnable game. You got all these great winnable games, yeah, sure, but at the same time, if you want to get to the playoffs and hope to make something out of it, we got to start winning games against teams with playoff potential. 3 big storylines I'm looking at this year is what the first one I just talked about, which is the getting some W's against really good teams. Got to take one away from the 49ers if you hope to win this division. The offensive line, I've mentioned at length, it's been a problem for the Rams. If they can figure out this year, to make it successful with Cam Akers and then hopefully rebuild through the draft, that is probably going to be the strategy that they have to take, because let's face it, they don't have the cap space to sign any key free agents, and really when it comes to free agent offensive linemen, there's not too many of them that you can plug in and immediately solve your problems. When it comes to the third big storyline is the secondary. I've also mentioned that pretty much at length. The 3 big storylines were pretty much the main focus of this entire episode, but I like Jalen Ramsey, I like Taylor Rapp, and I really like Terrell Burgess coming out of the draft this year. So I think the secondary could be pretty good, and I think teams are going to have a hard time throwing on this defense, especially when you're constantly worried about where Aaron Donald is, whether he's breathing down your neck or 5 feet to your right or 2 feet to your left. You got to know where he is, get the ball out quickly, and the secondary is probably going to make teams pay for it. So that's going to be it. Pretty much of a short episode today for the Rams. Thank you very much for joining me. We only got one team left.